I'm Bob Dahl. I'm the CEO of Cassia. Today, Cassia is a vibrant and dynamic organization that has a mission to serve older adults in the spirit of Christ's love and foster fullness of life for the people we serve. Behind Cassia, before there was a Cassia, there were two separate and distinct organizations. One called Augustana Care. The other organization that makes up Cassia is an organization called Elim Care. I had been at Elim since 1994 as the CEO of the organization. But I had actually two start dates with Elim Care. One way before that, in the fall of 1982, I was fresh out of college. It was deep in the Reagan-Carter recession at that time, and for those of us who lived through that time, that was a difficult time. High unemployment rate and few jobs for new college grads. I came out of college in the spring of 1982 with a business degree and no job and no prospects. And I was also engaged to a beautiful woman named Diane, and I was looking for a job and needed a job because I had bills to pay. I was fortunate enough to be hired in an administrator in training program. Fast forward to getting to achieving my licensure, having the opportunity and now the criteria needed to be a nursing home administrator. I was ready to go. I was ready to launch my career and take that next step. But Elim didn't have any openings at the time. So decided together that I would look somewhere else for a job. And by now I'm married. We're living in rural Minnesota. Started looking around and actually was offered my first job and my first role as an actual, facility administrator in northern New Jersey, metropolitan New York City. And so I took that position and we moved from rural Minnesota to northern metropolitan New Jersey and launched my career there for my first administrator's job. It was a great experience. It was an awesome experience, just personally for the move, the challenge of all of that, but it was also professionally a very good move and gave me a very solid start and grounding me in the role. The journey from there, from New Jersey, went to Michigan, where I served 7 years as the leader of a little larger nonprofit organization. And then 12 years after I had left Elim, I got a call from a board member who remembered me and said our executive director was retiring and would I have any interest in coming back and interviewing to be the president and CEO of Elim. And I did that. And as I began my new role and new position at Elim, there were some key leaders that I met and resonated with and built a relationship right away. Ron Sanford, Kathy Youngquist, Angela Brown were among the key leaders then and still are today. There are people that 31 years later who I still work with from that original group of leaders, and they, along with the board of directors and a few board members with their very wise counsel and the wisdom that they shared, provided great support, but also provided some great wisdom for me as in those early days of kind of creating my new leadership role with the organization. And I am grateful to this day for the wisdom, the counsel of board members along the way who helped and supported and guided me, in those days, along with the leaders and the team members of Elim who I met, and we developed an awesome team as we moved forward with a new strategic plan for the organization.
When I met Bob a long time ago, it was probably over, before he got to Elim, it was probably 31 years ago or so. He was a young guy with lots of ambition, great family, and a great love for Christ that I could see. It was great. We teamed up to do a lot of different projects. He was a goer, and so we were always adding something, it seemed like, and One of the things that I compare as to how things grew, when I started at Elim, the balance sheet was about $15 million, and now it's over $500 million. And Bob's tenure with Elim and Cassia is a great push for that growth. Bob is a servant leader. He would get in there with us, with other people at the sites, and get the hands dirty and do what needed to be done. He was not someone who stood on the sidelines and watched everybody else do the work. He would get involved, and so he was a very involved leader, and he very much he cared for the residents and the staff and all of us, and we knew that.
My name is Patty Crawford. I started at Cassia 49 years ago. When I first met him, he was getting to know our side of the family, so to speak. So he would visit a site, he would get to know people. But when he encountered a story, someone's life story, it touched him sincerely in a way that he'd cry when he told it. He just saw what that individual had gone through. As I got to know Bob more and more, I thought he would be, I come from a rural background. If he were the neighbor across the fence line, he would have been a good neighbor. He came up from that Mille Lacs Lake area. And, if he ran a bait shop, people would flock to that bait shop to talk, to be a part of his life, and he would listen. So I find that Bob's empathy is what we held in common. And sometimes when you're talking about, the worker bees in an organization and the leader of the organization, it's hard to find the commonalities. But with Bob, I could find that in his sense of story.
My name is Paul Annette, and I've been working with Cassia over the last 5 years in the merger and acquisition process that they've been going through. Over the next 5 years, I learned who Bob Dahl really was. Bob is a man of integrity, a man of faith, and a man of humility. He was then, and he is today.
Bob's legacy is one of servant leadership, like we've talked about, and also growth. He was always looking to grow and expand, and really to share the mission with other locations, other people. So I think our expansion was one of his legacy items that I would remember, and also his inclusiveness, where he built teams, and he wanted those teams to be part of all the decisions we made. So we would noodle those things together. Even though he and I kind of share the same trait of being not all that comfortable in crowds, but he does it anyway because he knows that he needs to be aware and to meet people and share. And so I think watching him do that helps me to say, okay, I can do that too.
Through the course of time, the thing that I am most proud of is that our core reason for being, the core reason we do what we do, the why of what we do, I would say we have maintained our faithfulness to that. And that is being that we are a faith-based organization, not just faith-based. We are an overtly Christian organization representing two church denominations. And we have been steady in maintaining the fact that we do this reason as a call. We do this service. We provide this service as a calling and an extension of the churches that we represent, of the gospel of Jesus Christ. In caring for the physical needs, the psychological, the social, and the spiritual needs of the people we serve. And we've maintained that, and I would say been true to that. And that's probably, not something that is easy to put on a resume in terms of an accomplishment. But it is probably one of the things that I'm most proud of in maintaining that and ensuring that that we continue that mission and that ministry of this organization. But I have found, especially when, going through the challenges that we've faced and the crises that we've worked through, that it's a lot, the leadership is a lot easier when I pray more and worry less. And in fact, I believe there's a connection between the two, that when you do more of the first, you seem to have less of the second. There's a connection in there, and I shared that as just the things that I wish I'd learned earlier and practiced earlier in my career.
I remember, Bob, you and I sitting down talking about how do we bring this team together. I remember one of the things that we talked about is the teams that eat together stay together. And yet we had a lot of business things that were going on. So the formation of the every other week senior leadership team lunches on Mondays became truly a milestone of us working together, working through things, and being together every 14 days to share, pray together, share together, and do business together. And I would say when I think back of some of those legacy moments we had, they happened in those 120 minutes of us enjoying one another, enjoying the food and the fellowship that we had together.
When he started, we just, as a team, like to play a little bit of jokes on each other. And so when he would go on vacation, we would decorate his office, and a bunch of us would just bring in stuff that was sort of a theme. Like if he went to Mexico, we'd have Mexican decorations and things like that going on in his office. If he went on a cruise, we created a list, an agenda for the day for a cruise ship when he got back, and we would pretend like we're on the cruise ship. So, and he went along with it. He thought it was good. He didn't balk at it, and so that was fun. The other things I remember, we had a lot of, over 30 plus years, we had a lot of challenges and some crazy stuff going on. Like in Fargo, North Dakota, there was a threat of flooding, and we had to evacuate the whole facility. He went up there, and others from our home office went up there and helped people get on the bus. They had no idea who he was. He just treated them like he was helping them, and didn't matter who he was. And so he just jumped in there to help. Bob, just enjoy the time with family and kids, and going places that you love to be, and remember to come back and see us once in a while. Thank you for everything that you've done for me and for Elim and for Cassia. I wish you the best, and love you.
Well, I know a little bit about retirement now, a little bit more than he does. But I wish for him to put a lot of energy into this first part of retirement, which I believe he will. I believe he will. He hates winter, and it will really be a joy for him to be in Florida. He'll be very near where my family lives down there. So I wish him a lot of laughter, a lots of winter warmth, a lots of good fish on Lake Mille Lacs, and I trust he remembers all those stories that touched his heart. He remembers them. He remembers when he drives through peas, that, all of the childhood stories that he'd share. And how rich, how wonderful. And just savor it and learn from it.
Bob, as you know, we have talked for 2 years about the possibility of you retiring. I remember us singing happy birthday to you when you were 62, when you were 63, when you were 64, and people kept coming to me and saying, what's Bob going to do? And here we are now. We're at the end of one chapter of life in your career. But as I've told you, you don't retire, you refire. And I am looking very much forward to the opportunity to watch you as you start writing the next chapter of your life outside of Cassia, but always with the anchor of the love and respect that the people in the family of Cassia have for you. God bless, Bob, and best of luck.
Well, for future leaders and future members of our board of directors, I think my message to them is, despite the challenges, the crises that we've been through and we've survived and we've come out stronger and better for it. I mean, showing there's a resilience in organizations like us, and especially if we kind of rest on the faith foundation of who we are and trust in that. I also believe that organizations like Cassia can be broken. We can break the organization. We can lose our way if we're not careful. And so, my message to future leaders, future board members of the organization is, fragile, handle with care, and be very cautious, with the organization, and ensure that we maintain the direction that we need to maintain as an organization. What I would hope to be remembered for, we remain true to who we are as an organization. And by that, I mean true to the mission, the true mission of the organization, which is to serve people well, do our best in providing the care and services that they need, but always wrapped in God's ministry. We own that. No one gets to define that for us. We get to determine the reason that we do the work that we do, I hope my legacy is we stayed true to the reason. We stayed true to the answer of why we do what we do. Our tagline as an organization is serving all by following one. That's probably the most important legacy that I hope I leave.